Biden, thank you for tonight. Good night tonight, not over yet, but we're feeling really good because of you. You've done an awful lot already, you've all chipped in, but if you can do just a little bit more, $5, $10, $20, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, welcome back. You watching Liquid Lunch, and it's a great Woman Wednesday, but you know what? When it's Woman Wednesday and you get the top-notch #1 guys, you got to fit them in, and when the Gov is in town, we got to have him on. I'm with Consuelo, as usual, on Women Wednesday, and
Hi, nice
Governor
to
Eric
meet you.
Greitens joins us right now, former governor of Missouri, decorated Navy veteran. Yes. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And you are, aside from all other things patriotic, yes, you are keeping an eye on how George Soros and his team of proxies is out there, breaking down what should be PAC money into smaller organizations that look like they get to the candidates in small dollar denominations. Right. What's happening there?
What's happening in Missouri is that we had a George Soros-funded prosecutor who came in and charged me for a crime with no evidence.
Wow.
Zero evidence. I have now been fully exonerated. Okay. Everything was dropped, but that prosecutor and her team are now under criminal investigation. And her investigator has actually been charged with 7 felonies for coming after me. 6 counts of felony perjury, 1 felony count of evidence tampering, and it looks like her investigator is going to be the first person who goes to prison for trying to overturn the elections in 2016.
So you go from a decorated veteran, governor, put your heart and soul into American patriotism, democracy with a small d, all that stuff. You're trying to look into George Soros, and the prosecutor who's supposed to be meting out justice is basically committing crimes to soil you for all intents and purposes.
Look, and this is what people are seeing around the country. I mean, this is what happened with the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, right? You get a set of false allegations promoted by the fake news, you get bogus investigations, and then they attack people. And when Soros-funded prosecutors do this, they come after you with taxpayer money, but then you have to pay for the defense yourself. So, and they go after you, they try to bankrupt your family, they drag your reputation through the mud. I'm glad that now I've been exonerated. I'm glad that the truth is coming out, but it's important for all of America to recognize that this is the left's playbook. I mean, this is what they will do to try and drive conservative outsiders from office.
Well, what scares me is, you know, I'm more of a libertarian, you know what I mean? I talk to my audience being the purple people. Then, you know, I think, like, if you're all red or you're all blue, like, those are the wackos in life. Most of us have little bits of both. And when the actual people who we pay to mete out justice fair and equal start to use that as a weapon, whether it's against the left or the right, it's really against us and all of us, whatever color you identify with.
The reason this should scare everybody, whether you're conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, libertarian, independent, is that in my case, they had people who came in who dropped off $120,000 in cash to people who made false accusations. Wow. And they got away with it. Now, again, the truth is finally coming out, but we need to recognize this is what the criminal element in politics is willing to do. This is what a George Soros-funded prosecutor and her associates are willing to do, and that's why it's so important that the truth is finally coming out.
But what I love is that you're taking, and I'm so sorry that you went through this, and I hope your family is okay, that you're taking something that was negative and actually you're writing a book and you're explaining and you're coming out and telling your story, which is honestly what we all need, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, everybody in their life has to deal with pain.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody has to deal with suffering, and we have a decision. You can either get bitter when something like this happens, or you can get better.
Right.
And we can use that pain and we can try to become wiser. We can use that suffering, we can try to become stronger. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to take this lesson and figure out how we let everybody around the country know. And then, at a personal level, you try to get wiser, you try to get stronger, you try to get better.
It's true. Listen, we all have to lead by example. And again, I'm sorry for what you went through, but I think it's fantastic that you're doing this.
Well, thank you. I very much appreciate it.
Well, listen, you've never had a problem showing your bravery. You went out there and put your life on the line for the very freedoms and liberties that our justice system is supposed to give us. Thank you for that. God bless you.
You're welcome.
And You know, what other great things are you doing now? I know, you know, Missouri apparently went for, Mizzou went with Joe Biden last night. What do you think's happening out there with the Democratic primaries?
Well, look, when I look at the Democratic primary, what I see is that you have the kind of socialist base of the Democratic primary electorate is really upset now because they feel like the Democratic swamp came in and just took this election away from Bernie Sanders. So we did see in Missouri, Joe Biden swept Missouri. He did very well there. I think that actually lines up very nicely for the president in the fall. I think that the president's looking at a very strong reelection. I mean, you look at Joe Biden, he's just having trouble from moment to moment kind of answering basic questions. The other day,
were you surprised, sorry to interrupt you, but were you surprised in the last 2 weeks about how he's really taken off at this point and how everything's completely shifted?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what happened was you just saw the Democratic swamp come in and say, we're going to drive Bernie Sanders out of the primary process. And this was the Democratic establishment coming in, putting their foot down, and what it's done is it's upset a lot of that socialist base of the Democratic Party. And again, I think that President Trump's going to do really well in the re-election this year, especially in Missouri.
JT, what do you think about this?
Well, you know what? There's so much more I'd like to talk to you about from a conspiracy theory standpoint, but that's not for today. You know, I know it seems like there was a lot of Brady violations. You had prosecutors not turning over exculpatory evidence. There's one prosecutor. I think it's known now, right, that George Soros has had people direct money into campaigns of prosecutors in state and municipal elections so that the apparatus, that whoever he supports, has control of prosecutors in places where they can go after their political enemies. You were one of them.
Yeah, look, I came in as a pro-police outsider, and she was an anti-police prosecutor who was supported 70% of her funding came directly from one PAC. That PAC was funded directly by George Soros. So this was her prosecutor. They put her in place, and they came after me because I was a political enemy. And again, that should be scary to any American, that you can have a prosecutor who goes after you because of what you believe. You can have somebody who comes after you and charges you for a crime with no evidence just because of what you believe.
All right. Well, Gov, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate your service and everything.
So nice meeting you.
It's not just George Soros. All these big PACs have all kinds of sneaky, dirty, swampy ways to get money into elections. It's happening everywhere. But when they start attacking regular citizens, we should all be worried. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back right after this with Harleen Kaur, and we're going to talk about busting the news bubbles. Take a quick break. More Liquid Lunch right after this.